أنا طفيتها.
Salam alaikum. Well, the problem is I'm going to go in English, so if you don't understand English, you're going to have a problem with my talk, so just brace yourself. My name is Yasser. ABDESSELAM. I'm a founding member of UDev. I co-founded a digital agency called Digital Nerd, and I'm a digital communication specialist. I do consulting for companies. And recently I've been certified to train people on entrepreneurship. And that's why we'll be talking about how to pitch perfectly. Selling yourself to sell your ideas. Now basically, this is something I do always. I always disclaim that this is not exact science, so what works for you might not work for the next person sitting next to you. I have a question. Before we go to the axis that we're going to talk about, the question is, do you know what personal branding is? Anyone? Yeah, 2 people. So you're going to learn today. Yeah. We're going to go through 2 axes mainly, which is the storytelling and the pitch deck. And I gave them different circle sizes because I'm going with the storytelling more than the pitch deck because it gets into technicalities. What is personal branding? So according to Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, of course you know Amazon. Okay, this is a real problem. Your brand, you as a brand, is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. And why do you need this? Is it because you have 2 options when you finish. It's either you finish your research as a PhD or go into teaching, which is a job, or start something for yourself as an entrepreneur. And that's a word that I hate, but I have to use it because that's the used word. Now, if you have an idea, you need money, and to make the brand, you need investors, and to convince investors to invest in your idea, you need a script, which is the story. And that story comes with a pitch deck that revolves around you. So you are the key. Let's go first to storytelling. When you are presenting something to an investor, so let's just say that you decided to go with a business of your own, and you're starting to give a presentation of a few minutes. We're not going to have 15 minutes to do this, so you're going to have at most 5 minutes, because investors don't have time. What you do with storytelling about yourself is basically telling a story. When we're going to talk about the Pixar pitch, you're going to make it personal and be the subject because it revolves around you. Make it intriguing. Don't make it dull. Make it mysterious somehow to be catchy. Make it short, and I really insist on this one. Make it short. You need also to make the audience feel it, because if you don't feel the story, if you don't feel the background of your project, nobody's going to give you an importance. You have to make the audience believe, like, walk a mile in my shoes. I was there, I lived it. And make the audience scream and look for the solution to the problem that you're exposing. And then, at the end, give them what they want, which is the solution. Let's go in depth. Now, the Pixar pitch was established by Dr. Daniel Pink in his book about business that's called To Sell is Human. And you can have this in the resources later. But the Pixar pitch comes this way. Once upon a time, something. Every day, something. One day, something. Because of that, something. Thus, something until finally, something. And here's how it goes around you. It's once upon a time, you had a problem. Every day, you struggled with this problem, and there's always a you, because it's all about you. One day, you had an idea for that problem. To solve it, of course, to know it. Because of that, you developed a solution. Thus, you researched the solution, made it perfect, or almost, and then, finally, you prototyped it. And that's the Pixar pitch. Try to make it personal. So, if you have experience in what you do, brag about it. Don't think that it's some sort of, some type of arrogance. It's not. Because whatever you do, you did it. And nobody in the 7 billion people who live on this planet did it the same way you did. So brag about it. I started UDev with Yasser and Yasser and other people who are now not in Iran, not in Algeria, and they're doing really good. And I'm proud of this, so I talk about it. Now, when you make it personal, you have to tell what made you go for this idea and not something else, because there are circumstances. When I started a project called Expertise, it was back in the army, in the circumstances of the army. And that's an important story for you. How it happened, well, that's a long one. And what brought it into your mind in the first place? Try to make it emotional, because people will believe what they feel rather than what they see. And make yourself Batman. Yeah, I'm a fan of Batman. Sorry, I don't have the t-shirt for today, but yeah. I'm kind of Daesh type Batman. You have established the whole thing about you, and now you have to make it intriguing and mysterious. And this one is important because it makes it catchy. It makes the story catchy to the investors. The story that you're going to tell, for example, I'm going to take my example, which is Expertise. When I start talking about it, I start with imagine yourself in a small room where the window is up your head and the door is next to your feet, which is really small. And you can't understand the whole concept from this story. That's what makes it intriguing. People will wonder why you're telling this story, but this doesn't have to be long. It has to be short, and I did that on purpose. And you have, for the whole story, you have from half a minute to a minute and a half, but a minute and a half is for a really long story, so you have to make it short. Now, the more you give to your story when you're telling it, the less you're going to have for the pitch deck. And the pitch deck is the technical pitch, which is the most important part for the investors. The storytelling part is the big one that takes the least time. Because the others are just numbers. So basically, you are in an investment committee, not in a talk show. This doesn't happen when you're pitching an idea to investors. And people get bored easily, and you know that. But I congratulate you, you've been here for a few hours and you're not bored, so thank you. And then you have to make the audience believe by appealing to their senses, by using words like try, feel, touch, imagine. It has to go into your pitch. Now, use body language, because if you're stiff and sitting in a place, nobody's going to feel what you're saying. You live the situation. As I said, walk a mile in my shoes. So make them live it with you. You know the story, tell it exactly the way you had it in the first place. And most importantly, use the words that came into your mind when it happened in the very first place. This has been established, and now you have to make them trade. They need the solution, and the solution is you. Now, give them the impression that only you have the solution, and even if you can give the solution or the idea to someone else, nobody's going to have the ability to execute it unless it's really you, because you lived it again. Make yourself the key to the whole thing. This has been the 30 seconds to 120 seconds at most, and it's really 90 at best. Once it's finished, you give them what they want, and you close the story with the whole idea, with the whole mystery, and with the whole intriguing thing, and you go to the brand statement. The brand statement is something that we're going to work on. If you know the Entrepreneurship, Leadership, and Innovation Program, I'm one of the trainers, and I will be working here in Oran. So you're going to have this with me if you subscribe you apply to Entrepreneurship, Leadership, and Innovation Program. You have to establish the brand statement for yourself. And then create a smooth transition and go into the technical side, which is the pitch deck. What is a pitch deck? Do you know what's a pitch deck? You? Nobody knows what the pitch deck is. So again, I'm here for a good reason. The pitch deck is your presentation. So what I'm doing here is a presentation, but it's not a pitch deck, because pitching is giving your idea with the purpose of getting money in exchange. And the pitch deck comes in different formats. The main format that we know today is the electronic format, but it can be posters, it can be flip charts, it can be a lot of formats, but you just have to express the idea. And I'm sorry for the mic, because this is something that you have to eat. For the pitch deck, you have to state the problem. Technically, you stated the problem emotionally first in the storytelling, but here it's technical. With numbers, you need statistics. It's a must. Don't come and just start throwing numbers from your mind, because that doesn't give you credibility. Be credible when you give the information. I don't know if you know the SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is a basic business analysis that happens in the market. You have to offer this in your pitch deck. Next, your target market. You have to show who are you targeting, because the target is the whole thing. It's the market. You're not going to target everyone. You're not Facebook. And even Facebook targets the over 13 years old people. And then the solution, again, not the emotional solution, the technical solution. The cost to the investors, because they're going to spend money and they want to know how much and where they're going to spend it, which is the business model, using the business model canvas method, and that's one thing that we're going to cover over ELIP. And this model has 9 blocks that kind of summarize everything that you're going to do with the whole idea of your startup. Next is the marketing and sales strategy. And basically, this is not something you can do if you are too technical. You need help. Don't go alone. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And, sorry for the buttons. Every startup needs to be scalable. It needs to grow fast. So you get the growth or scalability plan for the future, which is partnerships and collaborations. And at the end, at the very end, there is the demo or screenshots or prototype if it's something hardware. Now basically, this part is the most important part, because if you give a perfect business model, a perfect presentation, but you don't give a real program or real prototype of what you're offering, nobody's gonna have interest in your idea because you don't believe in your idea in the first place. I think that this goes more of a workshop than a conference, so I think I'm gonna organize this with UDev someday, and you'll be all welcome to the workshop. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, be my guests. By the way, one last disclaimer, use the language that you want. Don't be afraid.
شكون اللي عنده كاستيون بالعربية؟
بالعربية، فرنسية، أنجليزي، قبايلية شوية نفهمها.
شوية.
Alors, des questions?
En fait,